and welcome back to Hindustan Astrology. I'm Katya, and in today's video, I have back my mentor, Dr. Santhip Kanholi. Thanks, Santhip G, for joining me again.
Namaste, Katya. Thank you for having me back.
Namaste. So in today's video, we are going to jump down the rabbit hole and talk about what's coming up on November 28th, which is Rahu going into Pisces and Ketu going into Virgo. Now, this is a big shift, and I really feel that we can feel those themes happening now, even though the eclipses we just had were in Aries and Libra concerning, cars and war and the military and things like that, but also peace and negotiations and diplomacy. And we're seeing it right now around the world, protests all over concerning what's going on in the Middle East. And I feel like this is kind of a foreshadowing to Rahu and Pisces, because what is Pisces about? It's the final sign. It's about spiritual liberation. It's similar in a way to Ketu, which is Moksha Karaka. So people are, rallying for freedom, and we're seeing, religions tested, all of that, health stuff coming up with Virgo. Gosh, it's like this time in the transition is so potent. So we wanted to talk about it with you guys, and I prepared a presentation, and I went back. I couldn't stop. I kept researching. Every 18 and a half years, the nodes shift, right? So if you go back 18 and a half years ago, we have the same placement, on and on and on. I went all the way back to 1856. So interesting times we are in. A lot of things coming full circle, a lot of new beginnings. It's really an exciting time to be here. And Santhip, before we start the presentation, is there anything you want to say about this?
No, it's going to be an interesting video because there's a lot of good historical patterns which you can identify from the nodal returns, the same sign. So it'll be interesting to see. So we'll look forward to it. Yeah.
Yeah, and really for me, I mean, this is a big reason why I love astrology is mundane astrology. I love seeing the patterns, and I've always loved history. And it's just fascinating how if you can catch the patterns, you can kind of predict what's coming up. So without further ado, let's get started. Okay, so here we have our presentation. And without further ado, I think it's important to understand the myth of Rahu and Ketu. So I'm just going to read through this. In Jyotish Vedic astrology, Rahu and Ketu are known as shadow planets or lunar nodes. The original myth of Rahu and Ketu is described in Hindu mythology, specifically in the story of the churning of the cosmic ocean, or the Samudra Manthan, found in ancient texts like the Mahabharata and the Puranas. According to the legend, there was a time when the Devas, or the celestial beings, or the angels, right, and the Asuras, or the demons, decided to join forces to churn the cosmic ocean in order to obtain the nectar of immortality called Amrit. Mount Mandara was used as the churning rod, and the serpent Vasuki became the rope for this great endeavor. As the churning began, numerous things emerged from the ocean, including various celestial beings, divine weapons, gemstones, and divine beings like Kamadhenu and Uchai Shravas, the divine cow and horse, respectively. One of the last things to emerge from the ocean was a divine pot of Amrit. Seeing the nectar, the Asuras became greedy and wanted to keep it all for themselves. However, Lord Vishnu, in the form of Mohini, a female enchantress, appeared and took control of the Amrit, ensuring a fair distribution to all the devas and preventing the asuras from consuming it. Rahu, an asura, was aware of this deception and desired to obtain the nectar to gain immortality. Rahu disguised himself as a deva and sat among them, hoping to drink the nectar. However, Lord Vishnu recognized his plan and severed Rahu's head with his Sudarshan chakra, a divine discus, just as he was about to drink the Amrit. Since Rahu had already consumed a tiny amount of the nectar, his head became immortal, while his body perished. From that point on, Rahu became an immortal celestial being, a graha, who was separated from the rest of his body. His severed head is known as Rahu, and his body became Ketu. In astrology, Rahu and Ketu are considered to be significant celestial entities that represent the ascending and descending lunar nodes, respectively. They are believed to have a profound influence on a person's life and are associated with various karmic influences and challenges. So these are shadow planets. Rahu and Ketu are not associated with any zodiac sign, but are considered as shadowy points where the paths of the sun and moon intersect. However, Rahu is said to have its exalted position in the sign of Taurus or Vrishabha, and its debilitated position in the sign of Scorpio, Vrishika. On the other hand, Ketu is exalted in Scorpio and debilitated in Taurus. Regarding their Mula Trikona signs, Rahu's sign is Gemini, Mithuna, and Ketu's Mula Trikona sign is Sagittarius or Danu. Please note that Mula Trikona sign refers to the sign in which a planet's energy is strongest after its exalted sign. Okay, so just to give you an idea of the themes we're going to see according to the signs and the lord of the sign, right? So Pisces is ruled by Jupiter. So we're talking about expansion of spiritual and mystical phenomena, increase in illusions and deception in the world, heightened interest in religious and philosophical matters, amplification of faith-based beliefs and practices, rise in humanitarian and charitable activities, growth and popularity of gurus, spiritual leaders, and religious organizations, greater emphasis on seeking higher knowledge and wisdom, enhanced focus on compassion, empathy, and universal love, more prominent role of international relations and diplomacy, and possible disruptions in the financial sector, especially related to debt and loans. So with Virgo being ruled by Mercury, the themes we're going to see are intensified analytical and critical thinking, increase in scientific and technological advancements, greater emphasis on data analysis and problem solving, heightened interest in education, learning, and research, rise in intellectual pursuits and academic activities, surge in communication and information sharing, potential for disruptions in communication networks or systems, shift towards unconventional and non-conformist thinking, increased focus on health and wellness, particularly alternative medicine, especially while Saturn's in Shatabishak still, possibility of unexpected events or accidents related to transportation, and potential for economic volatility and fluctuations in the stock market. Okay, so in mundane astrology, all of these things can come out, express themselves in different ways. So in Jyotish, Rahu in Pisces and Ketu in Virgo can have various implications in terms of mundane astrology, which focuses on the interpretation of celestial events and their impact on worldly matters. Here are some general characteristics and potential effects of this placement. Number one, economic trends. Rahu in Pisces and Ketu in Virgo may indicate shifts in economic trends and financial sectors. There could be changes in industries related to spirituality, healthcare, pharmaceuticals, technology, and service-oriented businesses. Unpredictable market fluctuations and economic volatility may occur, and we're going to see this when we go back in history. There was some stuff I hadn't even heard of. Number 2, health and wellness. This placement may bring attention to health and wellness matters on a global scale. There could be a focus on holistic healing modalities, alternative medicine, and spiritual practices. Issues related to mental health, immune systems, and viral outbreaks may also become prominent. Number 3, environmental concerns. Rahu in Pisces and Ketu in Virgo may emphasize environmental issues and climate-related challenges. There may be a heightened awareness of pollution, water-related problems, and ecological imbalances. Sustainable practices, conservation efforts, and humanitarian initiatives may gain significance. Number 4, political and social movements. This placement may encourage political and social movements related to healthcare, public service, spirituality, and societal reforms. There may be an increased emphasis on social welfare, public health, and humanitarian ideologies. Revolutionary ideas and unconventional approaches may gain momentum. Number 5, Rahu in Pisces and Ketu in Virgo can enhance spiritual and philosophical pursuits at a collective level. There may be an increased interest in mystical subjects, higher consciousness, and spiritual practices. People may seek deeper meaning in life and explore unconventional belief systems. Number 6, challenges and transformations. While Rahu in Pisces and Ketu in Virgo can bring opportunities for growth and evolution, there may also be challenges and disruptions. Ego-driven behaviors, illusions, and deceptions may need to be addressed. Transformational events may occur, unraveling outdated systems and promoting spiritual growth. Well, we're seeing that happen right now. Global connectivity. This placement may enhance global connectivity and the exchange of ideas on a global scale. Virtual platforms, social media, and online communication may play significant roles. Information sharing, networking, and globalization may be emphasized. Okay, before we move on, is there anything you want to say briefly?
Well, remember, Pisces and Virgo are the natural 6th house and 12th house of the zodiac. 6th house and 12th house signs of the natural zodiac, as it's called. So definitely they are not easy houses in general. So definitely challenges is expected. Usually challenges in terms of enemies, expenses, and so forth. Those are the generic things. Of course, and on top of that also, Pisces, as you currently highlighted. Now, thankfully, Pisces and Virgo is also ruled by Jupiter and Mercury, so which is also making it slightly benefic grahas to deal with, or problems that can actually be solved in a more calmer fashion compared to Rahu being in Aries, which is ruled by Mars, a malefic graha. So that's also one of the influence you can see. One of the influences just be mindful of. So definitely Jupiterian influences like more change in thought, spiritual influences, change in finances, things like that is definitely a big thing. Mercury is a change in habits, routines, the kind of enemies one has to work with and all that. So the enemies we make, enemies we are karmically destined to face will actually show up now also, all that.
Right. Yes. 12th house, secret enemies.
Yeah.
6th house, open enemies. I was just writing about the D6 chart today.
Yeah, makes sense.
And, you often think of, 6th house as the house of health, but the D6 is a lot about your enemies,
Yeah, true, yeah.
And it's very, very interesting when you start looking at your own chart.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about the nakshatras associated with each sign, okay? So Rahu in Pisces will exhibit its qualities differently depending on the nakshatra it occupies. Let's take a look at how Rahu behaves in the nakshatras of Revati, Uttara Bhadrapada, and Purva Bhadrapada. Rahu in Revati. Revati is ruled by Mercury, and its symbol is a fish or a drum. Rahu and Revati can signify a strong desire for spiritual growth and exploration. It may create a sense of longing for deeper connection with the divine and a pursuit of mystical experiences. This placement can also stimulate artistic expression and creative imagination. However, it's important to be cautious of becoming overly idealistic or losing touch with reality. And I would also say, on a mundane level, with people, I've noticed that a negative quality of Revati is the damsel in distress.
Mm-hmm.
And this is because, Revati loves to take care of other people, especially animals, like small animals, pets, things like that. But they can't say no. And so they wind up with too much on their plate. And then they're like, help.
Sure, yeah.
I mean, it's kind of an endearing quality,
right.
But at the same time, it can get a little bit annoying, when they cry wolf constantly.
So yeah, we are talking about Revati, which is a nakshatra in the 12th house. 12th house also linked with hospitals, actually. So definitely you could see that kind of thing going on. Karma with hospitals, challenges around hospitals and so forth, you could play out. Usually, Revati is also the nakshatra where Venus exalts. So as you correctly said, that Venusian energy, that karma with music, higher philosophy, higher harmony and all that could also
Shepherding.
become strongly triggered. Yeah, shepherding karma, actually.
Yeah.
So that, of course, with Revati, there is also one more bit about losing time or living in a fantasy world. So that's also equally important, not to make sure you're not ungrounded during this time period, because this time you could really get ungrounded. So that's very important to watch out for that also.
Right. Yes. Okay, Rahu in, I guess we should have done, I guess I'm going backwards, aren't I? Anyway, the first one, actually, it's going backwards. Rahu's going backwards, right? So it will first enter Revati, and then it's going to hit Uttara Bhadrapada, and then it's going to hit Purva Bhadrapada, right? But most planets go direct, so, they go the other way. So just note that. Rahu in Uttara Bhadrapada. Uttara Bhadrapada is ruled by Saturn, and its symbol is the back legs of a funeral cot. Rahu in Uttara Bhadrapada may bring a deep sense of introspection and a desire for introspective practices like meditation and contemplation. It can also indicate a fascination with the occult and hidden information, especially like ET and stuff like that. This placement can bring transformative experiences, but it is important to maintain a balanced perspective and avoid becoming overly detached or isolated. That's because this is the serpent of the deep, right? So, you can, you need to have your social connections during this time to keep that meditative energy healthy.
Yeah, one thing I want to add here with Uttara Bhadrapada is that this is a nakshatra where Mercury is getting debilitated, actually, especially in the pada for Uttara Bhadrapada. Usually these are natives who do not prefer to communicate, do not prefer to talk and so forth and all that. Or problems with Mercury, as it's called. Problems with Mercury, problems with communication, and so forth and all that. So that can be a real thing. So there could be some communication issue that could play out and all that during this time period. So that early recognizing karma with your, now remember our communication devices in this day and age is basically mobile phones, actually. So usually if you have a bad mobile phone, now is when it might get replaced and so forth, and that kind of thing can also happen. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, Rahu being obsessions. Lord knows people are obsessed with their phones.
Yeah, true,
yeah. Yeah, that'll be interesting. Okay, Rahu and Purva Bhadrapada. Purva Bhadrapada is ruled by Jupiter, and its symbol is the front legs of a funeral cot. Rahu in Purva Bhadrapada can amplify the desire for spiritual advancement and wisdom. It may bring a strong inclination towards humanitarian causes and a desire for social justice. This placement can also stimulate a zealous pursuit of knowledge and philosophical understanding. However, it's important to be aware of becoming overly dogmatic or imposing beliefs on others. And I will say there's a couple stars here, Purva Bhadrapada, Markov and Sheet, that are, I mean, they bring a lot of creativity, but boy, they can bring a lot of tragedy, you know. And Pisces is known for tragedy. I'm sorry, known for spirituality, but it's spirituality gained oftentimes because of tragedy, right? Bad things happen, and then they find a spiritual philosophy or, you know, belief system to get them through it.
Yeah, that's an important thing. I think especially that dogmatic part and imposing belief on others parts actually. So it doesn't matter what faith you belong to, you can become a zealot in that faith. That's a complete problem actually. So it can be a problem, especially when you're kind of wanting to, impose it upon others and all that. So it's a really problem actually. So Rahu and Puravadrapada, you really have to be mindful of those kind of influences. Whatever be the philosophy you hold on to, you could get obsessed about it. Confusion around that could also play out. Something to be mindful about actually. So, however, it does have a very good humanitarian cost to it. So definitely the humanitarian needs and all that being met with that and all that is good. Or at the same time, I again want to emphasize this is the pada going into the Navamsha sign of Cancer, where Jupiter is getting exalted, but Mars also getting debilitated. So if you're fighting over your philosophy with your loved ones and all that, and you're ruining the peace of your home, you need to watch out for this kind of influence more strongly.
Right. Yeah, I could see that starting now.
Yeah.
You know, and probably coming to a head during this time, 2025, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Ketu and Virgo's nakshatras. So Ketu and Virgo will exhibit its unique qualities in different ways, depending on the specific nakshatras it occupies. Here's a look at how Ketu behaves in the nakshatras of Chitra, Hasta, and Uttara Falguni. So Ketu is right now currently in Chitra, but it's on the Libra side. So on November 28th, he'll go on to the Virgo side. Chitra is ruled by Mars, and its symbol is a shining jewel or bright star. Ketu in Chitra can bring a deep sense of individuality and creativity. This placement may stimulate a strong focus on self-expression and the pursuit of unique talents or skills. Ketu in Chitra can also bring a sense of detachment from societal norms and expectations, allowing for unconventional approaches to life. However, it's essential to strike a balance between individuality and responsibility to avoid becoming overly rebellious or detached. What do you think?
Well, remember, just like how Venus is getting exalted in Revati Nakshatra, here is where it gets debilitated actually. So one influence here to be mindful of about is that you are forced to find that ground level for that balance. The more important foundations for your Venusian energies in life, the more important energies to identify your balance aspect in your life, which is what Venus tries to do. Venus tries to balance it all actually, so that that particular aspect becomes very strong. So usually in a different way, this can also be the lowest aspect of your relationship energy in general. So this is also where you can build that up no matter what. So it's a very important opportunity to build that up actually, or not to fall for that my relationship is going down kind of problem and so forth. Because Rahu will be in Pisces accentuating the Revati problems, and Ketu in Chitra can also be accentuating that thing. So here there can be a natural sense of wanting to be detached from your normal routines, not wanting to work out, not wanting to talk to your spouse and all that. So that kind of thing, you just need to be mindful of that actually. Because
Not
here
wanting
Venus
to
is getting
clean the
debilitated.
house.
Not wanting to clean the house, not wanting to water the flowers, let the plants die, that kind of thing, right? Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Number 2, Ketu in Hasta. Hasta is ruled by the moon, and its symbol is an open hand or a closed fist. Ketu in Hasta can enhance intuitive abilities and may contribute to a heightened sense of touch or healing capabilities. This placement may inspire a desire for perfection and refinement in various aspects of life. Ketu and Hasta can also bring a strong sense of service to others and a willingness to assist and heal. However, it's important to be aware of tendencies towards self-sacrifice or becoming overly critical of oneself or others. What do you think about that?
So remember, just like how Mercury is getting debilitated in Uttaravadrapada Nakshatra, Mercury is getting exalted in Hasta Nakshatra. So here Mercury is exalted, there's excess of Mercury energy. So you might end up talking a lot more, wanting to talk just for the sake of criticizing someone else and so forth and all that. So that's the other side of it. So Hasta is also a very important nakshatra of discrimination actually. So Ketu falling transiting over Hasta can make you lose the sense of discrimination, which is something to be mindful about. So not to lose sense of your grounding and all that. Mercury is what grounds you actually. Routines is what grounds you and so forth. So it's very important not to disrupt it or to invite disruptive forces to things that are already helped you out and all that. Usually the Ketu can also bring in criticism energy. So, and especially in Hasta Nakshatra, it can be overly critical also, as you mentioned here. So just watch out for that particular influence is what I would advise. However, great time period to service. So healing hands. So hands can be healing also. Hands can also beat you and can also heal you. So both of the, so that healing hands aspect, something I would encourage also.
Well, I think this is an excellent time for writing. I mean, if you're going to be critical, be critical of your text, please. Please edit. I was tutoring this student the other day, and it was Intro to Biological Anthropology. And the text was so jumbled together. I was like, no wonder these kids can't learn. What they're given is written so badly because nobody wants to pay the proper amount to have these textbooks written right? And it's kind of a mess. And so we had to unravel. Okay, first of all, what's the proper way to read something? What's the proper way to take notes? How do you unravel this paragraph that is a jumbled necklace? You know what I mean? And those are the skills that these kids are going to need to get through school. It's not about, how smart you are. It's about how well organized is your information. And I think as K2 enters Virgo, we're still unraveling a lot of the problems that happened during the pandemic with the education, the problem with children. And it's deep, it's deep. And I really enjoy tutoring the kids because they need somebody who knows how to write and can tell them, you know what, you're right. That was written really badly. So it's no wonder. And I think a lot of that's going to come out during this time, when we get into Virgo.
Definitely, nowadays you can use tools like AI and all that to write things for you. So, but then this don't mean that you should let go of your own.
It's bad. The AI can be really wrong. I mean, like, whoo, making up resources and making up journals that don't exist, articles that don't exist. Like the only way you can use AI is if you know your subject backwards and forwards, because you have to grade AI like it's a student.
We'll
and the best way to use it is to, do something to take notes on. Use it as a study guide. Don't use it as your final paper. You know what I mean? Like you write your paper and then you have it correct your grammar. You know what I mean? And so we have to learn how to use these tools. So, because it's not going away and kids are going to use it. So you need to teach them how to use it. It's kind of like, kids are going to drink. So you need to just accept that and just give them some good information on how to protect themselves.
I mean, of course, if you are wise enough to even avoid the drinking thing altogether, right? So simple as that. But the other thing is that here, though, as you mentioned, it's interesting you mentioned talked about how AI can be an underlying tools and all that. So that particular aspect in our lives. So what are the underlying tools in our lives and so forth? It's a pure Ketu and Hasta problem actually. So letting go of problems, letting go of tools that are no longer serving you. That's also a Hasta thing actually, to be frank. So if you have it, even if you have some old toolbox in your garage, your screwdriver and hammer is not working and all that. So that kind of thing could also get replaced right now.
Yeah, using your hands. Okay, Ketu in Uttara Falguni. Uttara Falguni is ruled by the sun, and its symbol is a bed or a hammock. Ketu in Uttara Falguni can stimulate a strong desire for independence and freedom. This placement may bring a heightened sense of self-awareness and individuality. Ketu in Uttara Falguni can also inspire a focus on social and humanitarian causes, leading to a desire for community involvement. However, it's important to avoid an excessive need for attention or becoming overly egocentric. In other words, it feels really good to give to other people, right? Because they appreciate it so much. But don't make that the reason that you're helping, right? Don't make it because it makes you feel good. Do it because those people really need your help, because otherwise you're just making it about yourself still.
Yeah, so here exactly as you said, the egoic side of the social service and all that. So I'm doing it. I'm a do-gooder. I'm the best person in the world because I'm helping a bunch of cats cross the road or whatnot, right? That kind of thing. So you kind of have to like be mindful of that aspect actually. So that's a big problem. So Ketu and Uttara Falguni is also marriage nakshatra. It is also linked with marriages in general. So this can also bring in excessive criticism towards the spouse and all that. Something to be mindful about. Of course, the humanitarian aspect and community aspect is very important here also. So being involved with the humanitarian aspect is very good. Usually the problem is that when Ketu is going over here, there might be a tendency to not do any service which you might have wanting to do before. Like you might have perhaps offered some kind of service before, help the community in one way or the other. Now you don't feel like doing it because Ketu stands near that. So you have to be mindful of those kind of influences actually in general. Uttara Falguni is also the nakshatra of elders actually. So usually if you have not fulfilled a role as a community elder and all that, this is when you might be called to do that kind of thing. So as an elder in the family, elder in the community, you are part of and all that. So having a higher perspective, keeping a bigger perspective kind of aspect can be strong in Uttara Falguni also. Yeah.
Now I have a question because I thought that Venus was debilitated in Hasta, and you said that it was Chitra. Why is that? Isn't it 15
Venus
degrees?
No, at 27 degrees is where Venus debilitates.
Oh,
15 degrees is,
27. Right.
yeah,
Right.
15 degrees is the exaltation point of Mercury actually. So that's you just got the plan is wrong, the number's correct.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. I dyslexic brain sometimes. That's why I have to write things down. That's why I love writing because it's in front of me.
Right. Yeah, it helps out. Now, that's a good point. Actually, writing is a very good way to improve your memory. So definitely,
Yeah.
start a writing habit if you have not started writing habit, excellent time period to begin that actually.
Right. And I'm all about the flashcards. And I love my lamination machine because I make my flashcards and then my husband helps me laminate them. And it's like I'm a very visual learner and I'm a kinesthetic learner. In other words, a doer. It's like, don't tell me how to do something, show me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then I'm a very visual learner. So I need to have that in front of me. It really helps.
Yeah.
Okay. So now I was looking at, this is where I kind of fell down the rabbit hole. I started looking back, every 18 and a half years to see what was going on. And I saw so many things that I had to stop myself at 1856. So this is probably going to take a few minutes, but I'm just going to read through it and then go to the next one. Okay. And then I want you to start. If you want to say something in between years, maybe I'll do that. I'll stop between years and then you can say something. Okay. So in mundane astrology, which looks at the influence of planetary movements on world events and collective affairs, the placement of Rahu in Pisces and Ketu in Virgo from February 23rd until November 9th, 2006. That was supposed to be February 23rd, 2005 to November 9th, 2006. Would have likely affected various areas. Here are some significant events during that period. Natural disasters. Pisces, a sign associated with water, and Virgo, a sign associated with health and cleanliness, could have affected natural disasters or health-related crises in this period. We have the Indian Ocean earthquake and tsunami. You remember that? That was
Yeah,
crazy. I
definitely.
just saw that
Yeah,
movie a couple months ago because I have this
yeah.
thing. I don't like scary movies, like
Mhm.
horror movies, but natural disaster or like survival movies, like especially shipwreck movies. Oh my God. That's like I'm like glued to the screen. I must have had gone through those in past lives or my ancestors for sure, because it's just
So
like
yeah.
very present. But that movie was like, oh my God. This devastating earthquake and resulting tsunami occurred on July 17th in Indonesia, affecting several countries around the Indian Ocean. The Pisces energy of Rahu might have indicated the water-related disaster, while Ketu and Virgo could symbolize the widespread health crisis and chaos it caused.
It's a good
You
point
remember
actually.
that? Were you there?
Yeah.
I mean, in
Well,
India at the time?
yeah, I was in India at the time. Of course, it was a big deal in India. So a disaster around the ocean, which is Rahu and Pisces, which makes perfect sense and all that. And definitely, it happened on the east coast of India. There were certain towns that were more heavily afflicted and all that. So some people lost their lives and so forth and all that because the water would flooding would kind of follow through, right? So that kind of thing. But yeah,
Terrible.
it's an interesting thing. So it could be, as you correctly said, shipping related disasters and so forth. Say you are deciding to, during this time period, you decide to go on a cruise when the eclipse is around and all that. Definitely,
Oh, I've got a
try
friend that
to
goes
think
on
about that.
cruises all the time, and he's got Rahu and Pisces, and I'm just like, oh.
Yeah, you can observe what happens with a friend during this eclipse
I'm
time and all
like,
that.
okay, I need to look at your chart. I need to know the dates you're traveling because I'm really
Yeah,
worried now.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, definitely. Okay, health related challenges. Avian flu influenza. This is when SARS-1 happened. This is the bird flu. This was the first one. This period witnessed outbreaks of avian influenza in various countries, with Virgo's association with health, possibly highlighting the spreading of the disease. There were cases reported in India, Indonesia, and other countries during this time. Transformation and mysticism. Pope Benedict the 16th visits Turkey on November 2006. During this period, Pope Benedict the 16th visited Turkey, predominantly a Muslim country. Pisces, associated with spirituality and religion, could have symbolized the visit to a significant spiritual place. This event might have highlighted themes of interfaith dialogue, transformation, and mysticism. I'm hoping to see this again very soon in the
That's
Middle
a
East.
interesting point because the Pope is the one who's wearing the fish hat, which is a Pisces theme also, which is interesting in that regard also. So
Oh,
some changes
yeah.
with the Pope, radical new energies with the Pope and all that can be expected.
Very observant. Changes and reforms in healthcare. Healthcare Reforms Bill in India, 2006. The Indian government introduced several healthcare reforms during this period, focusing on providing better access to medical facilities and including more people under insurance coverage. This aspect aligns with the practical and analytical nature of Ketu and Virgo, emphasizing healthcare reforms and improvements. And this was
Yeah.
right before Obamacare, too.
Oh yeah, yeah, makes sense. Yeah, definitely.
I mean, it was a couple of years later, about 5 years later, but yeah.
Yeah.
I think it started here. Artistic and creative expressions. Premieres of notable movies and albums. Pisces is associated with creativity and the arts. Several movies and music albums released during this period achieved critical acclaim and commercial success. Noteworthy examples include the films V for Vendetta and The Departed, as well as the album Continuum by John Mayer. And we see, now he's been, traveling with Dead and Company and kind of, carrying on that legacy,
Yeah. Yeah. So I
and
think
they've retired now. So
yeah, that'll be interesting to see. Maybe some retired artists are coming back and all that. So that kind of thing.
well, I
Yeah.
know Bob Weir's going to come back and do something with some other people, but it won't be Dead and Company. They won't be
Yeah.
performing like that ever again. Okay. Put this up here so I can. Okay, here. All right, 1986. So the years were, or the dates were August 4th, 86 until February 2nd of 88. We have environmental disasters and health concerns. The Chernobyl disaster, April 1986, one of the most catastrophic nuclear accidents in history. The Chernobyl disaster occurred in Ukraine, and here we see the wars going on there, so that's going to get highlighted. Maybe, chemical warfare, maybe, using a nuclear bomb. I mean, I wouldn't put it past any of them, honestly. This
Yeah, I
event
think
led
Russia was testing to some nuclear bomb thing, right? If I'm not mistaken. Yeah, that's what the news people say. Yeah, interesting. Yeah.
idiots. This event led to severe environmental contamination and raised health concerns, aligning with the Virgo health theme and the potential negative impact associated with Ketu's presence in the sign. I would also say that every time there's some kind of a nuclear threat, that's when ET shows up. That's when they come and they bomb our silos. That's when they come and they distract, and Ketu's the most spiritual planet. It's the most, yeah, I definitely see a presence of ET coming around in the cycle to avoid stuff like this. Technological advancements. First International Symmetry Festival, June 1987. The first International Symmetry Festival held in Budapest, Hungary, showcased various technological advancements and research related to symmetry in science, arts, and architecture. It's purposely symmetry and not symmetry. This event could have symbolized the analytical and practical aspects of Ketu in Virgo. Again, more, technology, engineering, things like that. Religious and spiritual movements. Dalai Lama receives Nobel Peace Prize, October 1989. Although this event occurred after the mentioned time frame, the presence of Rahu and Pisces associated with spirituality and religion could still be relevant. The Dalai Lama, the spiritual leader of Tibet, was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize for his nonviolent struggle for the rights of Tibetans. This recognition highlighted the spiritual and compassionate side of Pisces energy, and also a lot of that work was done during the cycle, resulting in the next cycle, him getting the award. You know what I mean? Global health initiatives. Creation of the Global Polio Eradication Initiative, 1988. This was launched in response to the worldwide polio epidemic. This initiative aimed to eradicate polio through vaccination programs and extensive healthcare campaigns. The emphasis on healthcare aligns with Virgo's health-related themes, signifying practical efforts to combat a global health crisis. And certainly, they keep doing research for more and more vaccines for COVID, right?
Right, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Humanitarian efforts and aid. Ethiopian famine relief efforts, mid-1980s. During this time, famine and widespread hunger affected Ethiopia, leading to extensive humanitarian efforts and international aid. Pisces, associated with compassion and empathy, could symbolize the international response to the crisis, focusing on providing support and relief to those affected. And I would say that Gaza is going to get a lot of that empathy right now.
Correct, yeah.
Yeah, because if you're not being empathetic, you're being unempathetic, and that's a slippery slope. That's a slippery slope down into narcissism. So we don't want to do that. We want to stay empathetic. Yeah, help people. No matter what's going on with the politics, right? It's the innocent people. Okay, 1968. During the period when Rahu is in Pisces and Ketu is in Virgo was from January 14th, 1968 to July 11th, 1969. Okay, things are getting hot. Political and social unrest, civil rights movement in the US, 1968. Civil rights movement reached its peak during this time with significant events such as the assassination of Martin Luther King Jr. in April 1968, rest in peace, which highlighted the need for equality and justice. These events reflect the collective compassion and social awakening associated with Rahu and Pisces. Technological advancements. The Apollo 11 moon landing, July of 69. The historic Apollo 11 mission successfully landed astronauts Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin on the moon, marking a significant technological achievement. This event showcased the practical and analytical side of Ketu and Virgo, as well as the spirit of exploration and innovation. And we know we have the Artemis moon mission, which plans to put people on the moon again.
Wow, yeah, makes sense. Pisces is also space or the cosmic ocean also. So makes sense with that also. Pisces also the outer space, foreign lands. Foreign lands truly is going to be space for humanity actually. So makes sense, yeah.
And that's planned for 2030. And then we have the mission to Mars, which is 2040. So all of that is really ramping up right now.
Yeah.
And that's with NASA, of course. Yeah. Spiritual movements and cultural revolution. The Beatles visit India and transcendental meditation. February 1968. The Beatles visit to India to study transcendental meditation under Maharishi Mahesh Yogi, signified a spiritual awakening and cultural revolution amidst the counterculture movement. This event reflected the Piscean themes of spirituality, inner exploration, and seeking higher consciousness. And boy, I hope this happens again. I really think that, Vedic astrology needs to go mainstream. It just like, Western astrology did. And, if you notice, like on TikTok and Instagram, like there's so many more people talking about Vedic astrology now. We could really see, a big shift during this time, I think. I feel it. Health related. Yeah, go ahead.
Pretty sure Rahu and Jupiter, sign of Pisces, can give a lot more social media influence or media influence to a lot of spiritual movements. So that could also include spiritual topics, spiritual science, a lot of retreats, meditation retreats, and all that. All that will become very prominent right now. So it'll be a big thing for many people to take a retreat, attend a retreat, that kind of thing for sure.
Yeah, and if you think of social media influencers as being associated with Rahu, right? Because it's that obsession, right? Like you've got to feed that algorithm, right? And Pisces being, the ultimate, spiritual liberation and mysticism and multidimensionality and all of that. I think that it's going to be really fun. I remember back, I want to say 2012, 2013, YouTube was so much more fun with, discussions of, oh gosh, all of these topics of, otherworldly stuff, ET, aliens, alien folklore, like all of that stuff. Like you'd find all these great videos, and now it's like they censored everything. It's awful. And I'm hoping that some of that comes back because I miss those days. Okay, health-related crises and epidemics. The Hong Kong flu pandemic, 1968-69. This was caused by the H3N2 strain of the influenza virus, spread worldwide and resulted in significant illness and mortality. This health crisis aligned with the Virgo health theme and the potential for health-related challenges during Ketu's presence in the sign. Sorry, I'll cut that out. Oh, I'm going to struggle. Okay. So do you remember your family going through, any of this stuff during this time period, like since it was, in Asia?
Not really, not with the Hong Kong flu pandemic. Yeah, not really.
Okay. So it was just central to that area. Well, it's interesting because of, the SARS that comes out of there later. Environmental awareness and conservation efforts. First Earth Day was April of 1970. Although this event occurred slightly after the time mentioned, the ecological movement and the first Earth Day in 1970 highlighted the growing awareness of environmental issues and the need for conservation efforts. This environmental focus resonates with the healing and compassionate aspects of Pisces, emphasizing the need for collective responsibility. And you can see now, it's grown into a huge movement. And during this time is probably, it's when the roots began, right?
Yeah. So similar kind of days could happen. It's a good thing. First April, first Earth Day and all that. So similar kind of environmental awareness initiatives could take up a big thing. I think environmental initiatives around the ocean could become very significant during this time period, to be frank. Rahu being in Pisces also. Pisces linked with the oceans also. That'll be interesting to see also.
Yes, and especially with like the sonic or the sonar warfare that they're using in the ocean. I mean, it really is damaging to the animals, and I think that's going to be a big issue in conservation. I mean, it already has. Chief has been talking about it for years, and that's something that he really tried to champion on his channel. It's sound pollution is big right now. Like the hum, which we have the hum here in my area, and that is because of natural gas caverns they're filling and these machines underground. And it seems like the higher up you go in elevation, the more resonance you get underneath the ground. So like in here on my first floor of my house, I can't hear it. But I go up to the second floor and I lay in bed and I hear this.
Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. Sound pollution is going to be a big, I think, issue during this cycle because Pisces is music,
Yeah, that's going to be interesting because so though Rahu in Uttar Bhadrapada, the nakshatra symbol is that of the dragon at the bottom of the ocean. So it could be like things that are hidden underground, buried underground, things like that.
Dredging, like what they're doing in Savannah. They're dredging the river to make it wider to allow in bigger shipping container ships.
Yeah. So all that kind of influences could be playing out also. Makes sense here also. I forgot what to share.
And they're loud, like I'll sit out on the river. I love sitting on the river in Savannah, just watching the ships go by, and at night you can just, the only ships are going by is the dredging ship. And it goes, right? And then it does this thing. And it's fascinating, but they have to open up the river because these container ships are massive these days. It's insane how big they are.
Right.
But they sure are cool, man. I have to say, if I were young and had the bravery, I would probably get my license and being able to be on a container ship and work that. I mean, It's cool. Okay, 1949. June 25th, 1949 to December 22nd, 1950. We have post-World War II recovery and rebuilding efforts. We have the Marshall Plan of April 1948. Although this event precedes the time frame given, its influence continued through this period. The Marshall Plan, initiated in April 1948, aimed to provide financial aid for the reconstruction of war-torn Europe. This event reflects the compassionate and selfless qualities of Pisces, as well as the systematic and practical approach of Virgo. We have the Cold War and the geopolitical tensions, Berlin blockade and airlift. The Soviet Union's blockade of Berlin and the subsequent Western airlift to supply West Berlin highlights the tense geopolitical atmosphere during this period. The conflicting interests and ideological struggles between world powers align with the confrontational nature of Rahu in Pisces and Ketu in Virgo. I mean, it's happening in Gaza right now, blockade, airlift, all this separation. Emergence of new political systems. Formation of the People's Republic of China and communist expansion. Whoa, this is huge. The establishment of the People's Republic of China in October 1949, led by Mao Zedong and the Chinese Communist Party, marked a significant shift in global politics. This event demonstrates themes of ideological transformation and revolutionary changes associated with Rahu and Ketu in these signs. Technological advancements, development of the first electronic computers. The period saw significant advancements in computing technology with the development of the first electronic computers. Several projects such as ENIAC, Electronic Numerical Integrator and Computer, and Electronic Delay Storage Automatic Calculator, laid the foundation for modern computing. Such technological progress reflects the analytical and practical nature of Ketu in Virgo. Cultural and artistic expression, Beat Generation and abstract expressionism. The heyday of the Beat Generation writers such as Allen Ginsberg and Jack Kerouac, and the emergence of abstract expressionist artists, including Jackson Pollock and Mark Rothko, gave rise to new forms of artistic expression and rebellion against conventions. This cultural shift resonates with the imaginative and boundary-breaking qualities of Rahu in Pisces.
Yeah, here the technological thing is kind of interesting because the ENIAC, the first ever computer ever actually opened up then. I think we might be coming across the next generation of AI and all that soon. So that's going to happen soon during this time period. So that kind of technological advancement should be playing out very strongly.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. And I want to say, the whole phenomenon of Oliver Anthony, I don't know if you've been paying attention on TikTok or Instagram, but there's this folk singer. He's not a country singer, he's a folk singer. Very subtle distinction. But he wrote Richmond, North of Richmond, that song. I don't know if you saw it on. Well, it took over social media because it's about the plight of, everyday people and how the Richmond, North of Richmond, who are the politicians in DC, he's talking about Richmond, Virginia, how, they just want to have total control, and that whole Rahu Borg mentality, right? And how people are really, they don't want to be controlled. They want freedom. And that's very much Rahu and Pisces, liberation, speaking of freedom and protest songs, they said it was a protest song, what he wrote. But anyway, it went viral, and he's now, taken off and doing his thing. And so more expressionism and, I think folk music is going to be big during this time. Okay. 1930. So we have November 25th, 1930 to June 2nd, 1932. Great Depression, right? This is something that started, it preceded, right, in Rahu and Aries, but it subsisted into Rahu and Pisces. Although it precedes the given time frame, the effects of the Wall Street crash, which triggered the Great Depression, continued to be felt during this period. The economic turmoil, financial instability, and the subsequent global recession reflect the volatile and uncertain nature of Rahu and Pisces and the meticulous and practical considerations of Ketu and Virgo. Rise of totalitarian regimes. Adolf Hitler becomes Chancellor of Germany. Ruh-roh. While this event occurs slightly after the time given frame, it serves as an example of the growing influence of totalitarian regimes during that period. The rise of fascist and authoritarian regimes, such as Hitler's ascent to power, reflects the potential for radical ideological shifts associated with Rahu and Pisces, not just ideological, but religious. And I think that Zionism is going to come under scrutiny, and as I predicted for the eclipses, war crimes. That was part of the eclipse predictions, and it's happening right before our eyes. Sad how you have to become the very thing that you hate. World events and conflicts. Japan's invasion of Manchuria, September 1931. Japan's invasion and occupation of Manchuria marked a significant event during this period, leading to increased tensions in East Asia and setting the stage for further conflicts. This event demonstrates the potential for political aggression and territorial disputes, often associated with Rahu and Pisces and Ketu and Virgo. Well, yeah, look at, what's happening with Ukraine, Gaza, and Taiwan, right? These little areas that want to be taken over by the big guy, essentially.
Yeah, true.
Technological innovations, development of television and sound on film technology. This period witnessed significant advancements in the fields of television and sound technology. The first electronic television systems and the introduction of sound on film technology paved the way for transformative changes in the entertainment and communication industries. These developments align with the analytical and technological inclinations associated with Ketu in Virgo. I mean, it's crazy right now what's happening with film. And I'll tell you what's happening with, because my daughter's at SCAD, right? And she's studying 2D animation, but like the new, what do they call it? Spider-Verse movies. That's combining 2D and 3D, and that's the future, right? So originally we had 2D animation, which is like cartoon. And then we had 3D animation, which is like, Cartoon Network, right? Disney, all that stuff. But now in the future, we're going to have 2D and 3D together, like Spider-Verse. So it's going to be super cool to see, to see what they come up with, especially with AI and stuff.
Yeah, that seems interesting. So Rahu in Pisces sign, the sign of artistic expression, some radical new things could happen for sure. Definitely technological integration with the arts could also play out more actually. So it'll be interesting to see actually what happens.
Okay, number 5, literary and artistic expression, modernist literature and art movements. The period saw the emergence and flourishing of various modernist literary and artistic movements. This includes writers like T.S. Eliot, Virginia Woolf, and James Joyce, whose works challenged traditional conventions and pushed boundaries. The abstract, imaginative, and boundary-breaking qualities associated with Rahu and Pisces find expression in their artistic endeavors, which is exciting. I love writing. It's so liberating. Okay, so here we go. This is the cycle where the Titanic happened, 1912. So we're talking February 20th, 1912 to November 13th, 1913. And the Titanic disaster happened April 15th of 1912. The sinking of the Titanic, one of the most infamous maritime disasters in history, occurred during this period. This event symbolizes the potential for tragedy and losses associated with Rahu and Pisces, where the sea and water elements play a significant role. Ketu and Virgo could also represent the detail-oriented investigations and lessons learned with the disaster. And again, like we've been talking, I follow the news a lot because, I just want to see what's going on. And Carnival Cruise Line is not doing well. They just already had like one of their ships flooded, like literally like this whole floor of the ship flooded. They weren't sinking or anything. It was water problems within the ship.
Interesting, yeah.
The mechanics of the water in the ship, because these ships are getting old, right? So I would say if you're going to go on a cruise during this cycle, make sure it's a new boat. Make sure it's like, Symphony of the Seas or something, something that's like very fancy. Yeah, you don't want to skimp on your budget for cruises this year, you guys.
Right, yeah.
Okay, formation of the Republic of China, January 1st, 1912. The establishment of the Republic of China marked a significant political event during this time. It reflects the potential for political transformations and the dissolution of old systems, which can be attributed to the influence of Rahu and Pisces and its association with revolutionary changes. I think we're going to see some changes in a lot of places, I think. Especially the BRICS nations, I feel like, well, I don't want to talk about conspiracy theories, but, if you go on TikTok, there's all sorts of conspiracy theories about why this war is happening in the Middle East right now. So anyway, I'll let y'all research that on your own. But I think there's going to be a lot of change in leadership too. Okay, Balkan Wars. Balkan Wars, comprising several conflicts in the Balkan Peninsula, unfolded during this period. The wars demonstrated the potential for regional conflicts, territorial disputes, and shifting alliances, which align with the influence of Rahu and Pisces and Ketu and Virgo, representing volatile and mutable energies. Yeah, shifting alliances. I think that's going to be interesting. Again, it's ideology, right? The Indian independence movement. The period saw the intensification of the Indian independence movement against British rule. Various events such as the Delhi-Lahore conspiracy and the formation of the Ghadar Party demonstrate the growing discontent and the revolutionary spirit associated with Rahu and Pisces and its impulse towards freedom and liberation. Yay! Technological advancements. The period witnessed notable advancements in technology, including the development of the first electric traffic lights in the United States, August 1912, and the introduction of stainless steel, 1913. These technological breakthroughs align with the analytical and scientific inclinations associated with Ketu in Virgo. Anything you want to say?
Yeah, so some of the regions could again have some transformations actually. So you might be seeing transformation in China, though the formation in China happened slightly before. So the after effects of that kind of thing could play out. So again, some events like that. Again, the Balkan region having problems. In the independence thing, perhaps you might see a new kind of movement coming and all that, which could be easily the case. Technological advancement I already mentioned. So Mercury is also debilitated, so that kind of you can enter new kinds of technology, new ways to escape or reality as it's called. So that kind of thing can show up right now.
Right. Right. Okay. Before we start, I have to blow my nose real quick. Oh, it just when I start talking, it goes. Ugh. All right. Okay. 1893. So we're talking August 1st, 1893 to February 6th, 1895. So we have the Panic of 1893, and I didn't know about this one. It was a severe economic depression in the US. It began a few months before Rahu entered Pisces. The financial crisis led to bank failures, stock market collapse, and widespread unemployment, reflecting the destabilizing and uncertain influence of Rahu in Pisces. So I didn't even know about that one. But isn't it interesting that it was also, aligning with the Great Depression?
Right, yeah.
The women's suffrage movement, the suffragette movement seeking women's right to vote, gained momentum during this period. Activists across various countries organized protests, rallies, and campaigns embodying the transformative and revolutionary spirit of Rahu and Pisces, which seeks equality and liberation. Isn't that interesting? And, especially having Venus debilitated in Virgo, isn't that interesting?
Yeah, more female rights issues and all that, definitely. That could again become more prominent and all that without doubt, yeah.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Yeah, they're not over with Roe versus Wade. I don't think we're going to see the end of this anytime soon. Okay, foundation of Red Cross Society. During this period, the Red Cross Society was established as an international humanitarian organization. The mission of the society aligns with the compassionate and altruistic nature of Pisces as it aims to provide aid and support to those in need. Also, the health themes of Virgo. Personality growth of Mahatma Gandhi. During this time, Mahatma Gandhi, the prominent leader of Indian independence, experienced significant personal growth. He traveled to South Africa, where he became politically active and began developing his philosophy of nonviolent resistance and civil disobedience, which reflects the spiritual and reflective nature of Pisces. Arts and literature. There were notable contributions in the arts and literature during this time, including the works of authors such as Oscar Wilde, Rudyard Kipling, and Leonard Tolstoy. This period witnessed expressions of creativity and imagination, aligning with the artistic and imaginative qualities of Pisces. Anything you want to add to this period?
Interesting to see that again. Great authors are, at work here again. Oscar Wilde, Rudyard Kipling, Tolstoy, and all that is very famous authors in this day and age. So that is very interesting to see that Rahu and Pisces was the time period when they released their works and all that. So it'll be interesting for sure. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it because my moon's in Virgo, so I'm excited, to really deep dive into the writing and tutoring and stuff like that. I love it. I mean, it keeps me busy. You know what I mean? It keeps my mind busy and out of trouble. Okay, we have two more. 1875. January 10th, 1875 to July 7th, 1876, we have the Great Sioux War. One of the significant events during this time was the Great Sioux War, also known as the Black Hills War or the Battle of Little Bighorn. This conflict between the Lakota Sioux, Northern Cheyenne, and Arapaho tribes against the United States Army represents the themes of Pisces and Virgo in the context of battles, conflicts, and meticulous strategies. And also, it's the idea of freedom and liberation from oppression. And this is exactly what we're seeing with Gaza. You know, I mean, when I saw this, I was like, oh my God. It's like David versus Goliath, you know, the story, the biblical story. Yeah, it's exactly the scenario. It's kind of like the beginning of the end.
Right, yeah.
And it's very sad. Okay, let's move on. Formation of the National Agricultural Society. The National Agricultural Society was established during this period in the U.S., emphasizing the practical and detail-oriented nature of Virgo. And also agriculture, you know, is Virgo, health, grains, right? This organization aimed to promote advancement in agriculture, highlighting the significance of agricultural practices, technique, and analysis. So this is how they realize, you know, uh-oh, you guys, we're going to have to feed a lot of people here real soon. How are we going to do this? Because people don't have the ability, you know, to grow their own food by this time. It's not like everybody has a garden, you know. A lot of people do, but this is, you know, also I would say probably the formation of, you know, grocery stores where people would, you know, not have to rely upon growing their own food. This was a big change around because this was Civil War, end of the Civil War era. You know, it actually ended in about 76. I think it was 71 to 76. And so for the United States, this time was a big upheaval. I mean, you want to talk about philosophical problems and families, you know, whole families killed. Like if you didn't join the right side, they'd just come and massacre your whole family. You know, it was awful. It was awful. So food was, I think, probably led to a big health crisis also during this time. Exploration of the Amazon River. In 1875, the expedition led by British explorer Richard Francis Burton set off to explore the Amazon River and its surrounding territories. This exploration ventured into the mysterious and uncharted realm of Pisces, representing a journey of discovery and spiritual exploration. Very revetee. And the rise of spiritualism. Spiritualism gained popularity during this period with a growing interest in communication with the spirit world. The themes of Pisces, such as intuition, mysticism, and spirit exploration, were highlighted through the rise of seances, mediumship, and the study of paranormal phenomena. And boy, you're going to see that this time now with, you know, now that the government has finally fessed up and admitted that they knew about ET, it's on. You know, everybody's got the green light to talk about it, and it's going to get very entertaining coming up here pretty soon.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I mean, God, I could do a whole TV show on everything I've seen, you know. Artistic movements. This period, we saw the rise of various artistic movements, including Impressionism in painting and Symbolism in literature. These artistic expressions reflected the imaginative and visionary qualities of Pisces and the attention to detail and meticulousness of Virgo. All right. So anything you want to add?
No, it's interesting how you could see different ideas in art evolving over time. So as you mentioned, right now it's impressionism, symbolism, then eventually Jack Pollock came in and it kind of evolved by the 50s or so forth and all that. So very interesting to see. So we might be starting to see some evolution of some old ideas as well. Old artistic ideas going through a big shift in perspective and all that, or going through its next stage in its expression kind of thing. That'll be interesting to see also.
And,
I think the
like Pollock used drugs, that would, I mean, he drank a lot,
yeah,
and if
yeah,
you've ever seen his paintings, it looks like, paint vomited on a canvas in a very beautiful
yeah,
manner,
yeah,
but that's Pisces's drugs too,
yeah, yeah. I'm not surprised by it, but you see that kind of thing actually. Definitely a very powerful time for artists for sure to further push their artistic boundaries forward and all that. So that's a very strong theme which must be highlighted. The
Mhm.
Amazon River thing is also interesting in terms of exploring the unknown and all that. So you mentioned shipwrecks kind of thing. So even finding hidden treasures and all that, some big treasure kind of thing could be discovered in my opinion. So
And exploring, like you said, the the galaxy, the universe, like what's out there. That's the cosmic ocean, right? So that's going to be big. Okay. And our last one, I had to stop myself here because I could have just kept on going. June
yeah, seems like
21st. Yeah.
yeah, seems like I had some internet problems, but yeah, as you said, exploring galaxy and all that, definitely a very important thing for sure. Yeah, very soon.
Oh yeah. Yeah. The universe being, the cosmic ocean, like you said, exploring new frontiers, the Amazon River, right?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
And so now we're going beyond our planet.
Yeah.
Okay, 1856, June 21st, 1856 to December 17th, 1857. We have the Panic of 1857. Again, another financial crisis I did not know about. A significant financial crisis known as the Panic of 1857 occurred during this period, characterized by a recession in the United States. The meticulous and analytical nature of Virgo and the influence of Rahu and Pisces may have played a role in the economic downturn and its subsequent effects on various industries. The advent of the Indian Rebellion, here we go. The Indian Rebellion of 1857, also known as the Sepoy Mutiny, began during this time. The uprising against British rule in India reflected the themes of Pisces and Virgo, with Pisces representing spiritual and religious factors, while Virgo exemplified meticulous planning and organizational strategies. I would say that, you know, I'm so glad that India got its independence. India is really, it's a large country, considering all of the different regions and all of there's so many religions in India that people have never even heard of, like there's just so much that I think it was strong enough to fight against the British rule, just like India was strong enough to fight against Alexander the Great. He'd never conquered India. The Indian army beat him back. Um, Whereas the United States, it was conquered and there was no ability to go back. There's no ability to reestablish pre-colonial rule. And the same thing with Palestine. And so, these subtle differences in power, and the depth of the history, I think, is really what makes the difference in who's going to succeed in the independence, right? Um, and, I don't know what's going to happen in 200, 300,000 years, here in America. But it doesn't look like the Native Americans are going to have pre-colonial rule again, and so I think those issues of you know the issues of our ancestors and how to go into the future and recognize not let the culture be lost, right? I think those are going to be big issues during this cycle.
Yeah, definitely the cultural revolution aspects and so forth could become big. Actually, India is going through some sort of revival right now in terms of many other old cultural ideas coming forth and all that. So that kind of thing could definitely continue forth for sure. So it could happen all over the world also. The old things that were buried culturally coming forth, older practices coming forth and all that, that could be continuing right now.
Right. Right. Yeah. Recognition of our ancestors, especially the health practices, I think with Ketu and Virgo. I think that's going to be
Right.
a big thing. Yeah. Okay. Publication of Madame Bovary. I had to read this in high school. The renowned novel of Madame Bovary by Gustave Flaubert was published in 1856, representing immersive storytelling. That's very Uttara Bhadrapada, and the exploration of human emotions and desires. This work reflects the Piscean themes of imaginative and emotional depth, as well as the analytical scrutiny portrayed by the meticulous Virgo. And again, Venus is debilitated in Virgo. And I would say Madame Bovary is very much a debilitated Venus in Virgo. A little bit selfish, a little bit self-centered, a little bit crabby. But again, we're exploring these themes, right? These themes of romance and the self and, societal, pressures, things like that. Suez Canal construction begins. Construction of the Suez Canal, a significant engineering feat connecting the Mediterranean Sea to the Red Sea, began in 1856. This project highlights the precision and attention to detail associated with Virgo and the expansive nature of Rahu and Pisces, which facilitates large-scale endeavors of projects associated with seas. Also, let's talk about where it's at. Hello. Suez Canal is right next to Gaza. And, Egypt has said that they don't want to take refugees at this point. But we know now, it's been even leaked on the national news, that the entry from Gaza into Egypt was bombed by Israel. The refugee camps on the south of Israel have been bombed, right? This whole area where Suez Canal is a hotbed right now. So what are they talking about? They're talking about a waterway that's been open, a passage that's been open. So something's going to happen with that area, I think, to let the refugees, something's going to happen. I think Egypt's going to change their tune.
I think Suez Canal region, as you correctly said, could go through a big change also. So I do think that's possible. Could be maybe canal gets expanded or something like that, or as you said, some new waterways kind of thing showing up and all that. So it'll be interesting to see for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, and when you look at the map, honestly, who I feel bad for in this whole thing? I feel bad for Mother Earth, I feel bad that this land is so heavily armed and occupied, because the whole area, right, between Gaza and Alexandria, really, the Sinai Peninsula, it's just desert, it's just military, I don't know. I guess I'm a romantic, but I just imagine when it wasn't like that, Yeah, but yeah, I feel bad for Mother Earth in this whole thing, Okay, Charles Darwin's On the Origin of Species. The first edition of Charles Darwin's influential book On the Origin of Species was published in 1859. towards the end of this period. This work revolutionized scientific thought, reflecting the analytical observations and meticulous research associated with Virgo and the expansive and transformative concepts associated with Pisces. And you know what this is about? What do they call it? Oh God, what's the phrase of the Darwinism?
Survival of the fittest kind of thing.
Thank you. Survival of the fittest. Yes. And this is, I mean, in a way, it's kind of the theory of war, right? I mean, it's territory, it's who's the strongest. That's the person that wins. Like, that's what Earth has been under for eons. And with Rahu and Pisces, I see a massive transformational shift in thinking, you know?
Yeah, so I think scientifically it'll be interesting to see what the new ideas that are coming up. So we did have on the origin of species come up now, but probably some more evolutionary scientific thought could be coming up actually. Maybe the origin of aliens or something, right? So something like that might show up. It'll be interesting actually, yeah.
Okay, so theme recap, Rahu and Pisces. Pisces is a sign associated with spirituality, compassion, and imagination. Rahu's presence in Pisces may bring about heightened interest or focus on spiritual pursuits, religious matters, and mystical experiences. There could be an increase in artistic and creative expression, as well as a potential for confusion or illusion regarding beliefs and ideologies. Ketu and Virgo. Virgo represents organization, analysis, and attention to detail. Ketu's placement in Virgo might stimulate a detachment from materialistic concerns and a greater emphasis on simplicity and practicality. There could be a heightened interest in health and wellness, natural remedies, and alternative healing modalities. Additionally, there might be a tendency toward hypercriticism or a need to let go of excessive perfectionism.
Yeah, I really want to highlight that excessive perfectionism and hypercriticism. But Virgo are perfectionists actually. Our learning to be okay with imperfections is a Virgo theme for Virgos in general. So learning to be okay with imperfectionism, the big thing. Perfectionism at the most of the time it might only exist in our minds, need not be existing in nature. It's our own sense of perfection which we're creating to make sense of nature and all that. So nature might be perfect, but it might appear to be imperfect. So without doubt. So something to be mindful about with this placement. Ketu and Virgo is what I would really encourage. Rahu is in Pisces, which is definitely artistic expression or whatnot. However, you don't want to you drain out your bank account because you want your living room to be perfect or whatnot. So that kind of thing is also one more thing to watch out for with Pisces and all that also. Same thing with spiritual pursuits, religious matters and all that. Something to be mindful about. Yeah.
Right. Well, and letting go of excessive perfectionism is about letting go of control. You know, this is one thing that all of the parenting books will tell you, you know. Okay, you know, you found the babysitter, you've done all the things, you know, you're going to take your first date after the baby, right? And you've set everything up, you've done everything. And so now you've got to lay back and trust that the babysitter is going to do, like, that you don't have to do every single little thing, you know? That's about letting go. Let go.
Right,
It's hard. It's hard for new parents, so that's just a little tidbit there.
Yeah.
Okay, so drum roll. Here we go. We have our forecast through all 12 signs. Now, I made this very brief because we've got some different transits going on. Like we were talking earlier, Saturn's going into Pisces in 2025 towards the end of this transit. Jupiter will go into Taurus next year. So that's going to be a big change. And then, of course, you know, Venus and Mars are doing their thing. Now, Mars is next year going to go into Cancer at sign of debilitation, and then it's going to go retrograde. So that's going to be a major transit. But other than that, it's the normal shift of, Sun, Mercury, etc. So keeping that in mind, let's read this. So for Aries, as Rahu moves into your 12th house and Ketu into the 6th house, Aries individuals may experience increased spirituality, intuition, and dream activity. It's important for them to be cautious about overindulgence and to focus on spiritual growth. And I would also say for Aries, 12th house is sleep and dreams. This is an excellent time to get, some kind of a smartwatch to monitor your sleep cycles. That's what I did when Rahu was in my 12th house, and it's really helped me a lot, and then, with K2 in the 6, you got to be real careful of your health. Real careful of your health, real careful of, enemies too, people that are just out to get you, possibly in your workplace,
Yeah, that's a good point. Definitely health issues for sure. 6,012 health axis for sure. So making sure you're taking care of your health if you're ignoring them, without doubt. Definitely the other thing, over intelligence is interesting also. So definitely spending more than what is required. You want the latest gadget, you're spending the lot, that kind of thing. Just definitely something to watch out for and all that. So focus on spiritual growth is great though. Excellent, perfect time period for spiritual growth. Some big breakthroughs in spiritual growth can definitely happen. That's a very good point. It could include, as I mentioned before earlier in the video, like going to meditation retreats, doing more solo meditation things and so forth. Could be travel to foreign lands kind of thing also, which could easily happen here during this time period as well.
Right. All right, Taurus. With Rahu shifting into the 11th house and Ketu in the 5th house, Taurus individuals may experience opportunities for social connections, networking, and gains, especially because Jupiter is going to be there soon. However, they should remain cautious about impulsive investments and prioritize their own creativity and self-expression. And I would say with Ketu in the 5th house, getting, into a hobby right now is a great idea. If you are older, your kids could be going to college or moving on, right? Children, 5th house, K2, loss. So it's time for you to focus on yourself, and making new friends. It's a great time for that, especially spiritual friends. Okay, Gemini. For Gemini individuals, Rahu's move into the 10th house and Ketu's into the 4th house may bring career-related changes. There may be opportunities and challenges in the professional sphere, requiring them to strike a balance between their public and personal life. Yeah, so when Rahu's in the 10th house, there's just a lot going on. There's, things you've got to learn also in your career. It's not just that you're going to be suddenly a great success in your career. It's that, Rahu is pushing you to find out what you need to learn to be successful, So it's like acquiring a lot of information. Yeah.
Right. Rahu in the 10th house also big openings with regard to career actually. So being more out there, reaching out more, advertising your achievements and so forth and all that. Then also Gemini are social signs usually. They're more active signs. Our Rahu can make you to explore new kind of social domains. You have never used TikTok before, you might have to use TikTok, things like that, right? That kind of thing can be a Rahu in 10th house kind of effect for a Gemini also.
Yeah, because you're working so much, your home life might suffer. So, you got to balance.
That's a good point. A very good point. Work-life balance will be a big thing for Gemini for sure, without doubt.
Right. Okay, Cancer. Rahu's transit into the 9th house and Ketu's into the 3rd house may bring spiritual growth and transformation for Cancer individuals. They may experience a change in their belief systems and seek higher knowledge. Relationships with siblings and communication may also become significant. And also, I would say, Cancer, if, obviously we're talking Vedic signs, not Western, right? But if you're Cancer moon, Lagna, sun, whatever, 9th and 3rd house axis is teaching. So if you are in teaching, this could be a time where you're teaching a lot more. And as you're teaching, you're also learning, because one thing I've found from teaching is that my students teach me so much, and so it's just a big time of acquiring information and dispensing information.
Yeah, definitely teaching related themes, opening yourself to spirituality. Right now is a very powerful time for Cancer natives in general, with regard to focusing on spirituality, focusing on communication and so forth and all that. So this might be a time when you're open to new gurus and all that, being open to new knowledge, new teachers coming into life, whether it's like a martial arts teacher or a spiritual teacher or a mantra teacher, or Sanskrit teacher, whatever it be. So
Yeah,
teaching
yoga,
kind of thing,
Pilates, whatever,
all that. Exactly correct.
intellectual. Yeah.
Yeah, all that could be very strong right now as well. Yeah.
Yeah, great. Leo, with Rahu moving into the 8th house and Ketu into the 2nd house, Leo individuals may experience change in shared resources, investments, and deeper psychological insights. They are advised to be cautious with finances and avoid unnecessary risks. Rahu's also your in-laws. And so, there could be, just some issues. Even if, your in-laws or your spouse's parents have passed, there just could be some familial issues there, especially in regards to inheritance, right? Matters of property. But in Pisces, it's really about philosophical differences, you know. Yeah. And you might even learn something about your spouse's family that gives you enlightenment into how they're behaving, like uncovering patterns. Just looking at family tree, uncovering, all that kind of stuff. Even health issues too. Yeah.
No, that's a good point. Eighth house is definitely not a easy house to deal with. So Leo natives might go through sudden ups and downs, sudden transformation, change in jobs and all that during this time period. It's an excellent point with regard to how you identified uncovering your patterns regarding your spouse's family or your spouse himself or herself kind of thing. Ketu is in the 2nd house of finances, so some financial your savings will get hit for Leo natives, so something to be mindful about right now. So 2nd house is finances also. However, Rahu is also bringing in additional elements uncertainty actually when it's in the 8th house. It's very important not to take any impulsive risks, big risky moves and all that without due research and all that. It's a very important thing. So if you do not do research, then without doubt you'll have problems. In general, there's not Leo natives, you should be more careful of getting scammed, privacy getting hacked, and all that. So that kind of thing also I definitely advise. Make sure the safety is also in place. 8th house is a house of security, so the security could go through a question kind of thing right now also.
Right. Okay, Virgo. Rahu's transit into the 7th house and Ketu's into the 1st house may bring changes and challenges in relationships for Virgo individuals. They may need to focus on finding a balance between their personal and professional lives and be mindful of their health. Yeah, well, I mean, Rahu's looking at the 1st house, right? So it's like, I think Virgo's going to feel a little guilty for wanting to spend time by themselves during this cycle, you know? Um, and it's this wanting to be alone that's probably going to cause the problems.
Yeah.
So just, if you've got a spouse with Moon and Virgo, let them go do their project. When it's time for dinner, get them back in the house, but I mean, you got to give them some space during this time because K2 is, the planet indicating, being alone, and it's in their 1st house. And in order for them to think properly, you just back off. Don't insist on them being social all the time right now. It's going to drain them,
Yeah, usually Virgo natives will be going through big transformation right now, especially sometime next year, same time next year. Eclipse will be happening on the ascendant for them. However, Ketu in movement into Virgo is a big transformation for them. So definitely, 7th house of relationships, partnerships, and so forth could be brought out actually. Now it could be depending upon the planets you have there in the 7th house. Could be new partnerships coming up, or could be like old partnerships being let go of also. All that kind of thing can also happen. The other interesting thing on Virgo, so Rahu and K, some of these themes which we described will be more prominent for the Virgo natives in general. So whether it's writing, spirituality, artistic exploration, all that, that can be very, very strong for the Virgo natives also.
Right. Okay, Libra. With Rahu shifting into the 6th house and Ketu into the 12th house, Libra individuals may experience improvements in their health, work, and routine. However, they should be cautious about overextending themselves and prioritize self-care. Yes, especially with Rahu and Pisces in the 6th house, Libra people really need to focus on, taking hot baths, going into jacuzzis, going swimming, focusing on music, aromatherapy, things that are, higher vibration, alternative modes of healing. I think Libra especially is going to benefit. And then having K2, in the 12th house, I mean, that's like K2 loves the 12th house because it's a, spiritual, it's the house of final liberation. And so Libra really can dive deep into the waters of metaphysics and anything to do with multidimensionality and alternative modes of healing. I just think Libra's needed this because they've had K2 on their ascendant, and it's been rough. My Libra friends have had a hard time this past cycle, and I'm like, I can't wait till the nodes shift. It's been rough.
Yeah, makes sense. So Libra, of course, they went through a big transformation right now. Now that they're kind of stabilizing into what the lessons they've learned and also forth. So they're kind of letting go of that energy that need to let go of and working on building up new routines to bring in the stabilized energies that will come in also, as simple as that. So definitely, Ketu in the 12th house can be disruptive to sleep. So just like for Aries native, Libra natives might also have sleep issues. So they'll have to work on that. It's a good thing, as you mentioned, if you get a smartwatch and all that, monitor your sleep, develop good sleep habits and so forth. Right now, it'll be a very good thing to do right now as well.
Absolutely. Okay, Scorpio. Rahu's move into the 5th house and Ketu's into the 11th house may bring changes in creativity, romance, and friendships for Scorpio individuals. They could have opportunities for growth, but they should guard against impulsive behavior. Because 5th house is the house of speculation, gambling, stuff like that. This is not a time for Scorpios to gamble. Rahu's there, he's gonna inflate your ego, he's gonna make you get obsessed, right? K2 in the 11th house, you can lose a lot of money, so Scorpio needs to watch it. But K2 being the most spiritual planet in the 11th house, I mean, that could bring a lot of great friendships that are very spiritual, health oriented type people. And so if Scorpio can keep a higher mind, then this can be a great time of creativity.
Yeah, that's a good point, Katya, because Rahu in the 5th house can accelerate creativity very strongly. At the same time, you also need to be make sure you're not taking higher risk and all that also at the same time. Definitely, Rahu in the 5th house can also mean a transformation time period for your children right now, because 5th house is children. Your first child might be going through a transformation time right now and all that. So being there for that child will be important actually, no matter what. The other aspect is also, as you said, romance and all that can definitely happen. Venus is getting exalted in Scorpio. Scorpio is usually the sign linked with affairs, illicit affairs and all that. So just make sure the romance, breaking a marriage and all that. So watch out for that also. That kind of thing also something I would like to say.
Right. Right. Okay, Sagittarius. With Rahu transitioning into the 4th house and Ketu into the 10th house, Sagittarius individuals may experience changes in their home, family, and career life. They should focus on maintaining stability and balancing personal and professional responsibilities. Yeah. So it looks like changes in the home might cause, a loss in the career. But it's, it's for the best, probably. I mean, if Rahu's in the 4th house, then those changes need to happen, right?
Yeah, definitely. So it could be, you might be changing your home, changing a place of residence, things like that. Definitely. If you are in a workplace that is not treating you well, you might search for a better employer, kind of thing. Similar, your employees are definitely going to search for better employees if you're not doing the job. So why not do the same thing to your employees? Similar to that. That kind of thing also be a very strong theme for Sagittarius native for sure. Some important karma of the family can also happen, and Rahu's in the 4th house. So not an easy time period for the mother of that Sagittarius native also could be said. Yeah.
Oh, right. The mother. Right.
That's correct. Yeah.
Yeah. And Rahu and Pisces. Let's see. Well, Pisces is ruled by Jupiter. Sagittarius is ruled by Jupiter. Maybe the mother comes into money at that time.
Yeah, it's possible. Depends upon the planetary configuration and all that. If the 4th lord is good planets with Jupiter, if Jupiter is well positioned in the chart, good chance these natives might come across money as well. True.
Interesting. Okay. Capricorn. Rahu's movement into the 3rd house and Ketu into the 9th house may bring changes in communication, siblings, and spiritual pursuits for Capricorn individuals. They may experience opportunities for learning and growth through travel or higher knowledge. Yeah, Rahu in the 3rd, Ketu. Yeah, I mean, especially this, I think this is a time of really teaching as well, just like for Cancer, because you're dispensing knowledge and you're gaining knowledge, right?
Right. Yeah. So
Uh,
here,
mhm.
one thing with, as you mentioned, opportunities for learning and growth is interesting. Because sometimes Rahu in the 3rd house can make you open to new ways of learning, new ways of doing things. And definitely 3rd house is a house of entrepreneurship also, being open to new ways of trying to do things and so forth is great. Ketu is in the 9th house, so you might come across knowledge that you knew in your past lives, kind of thing, actually. Maybe in the past you had a specific interest, now you have time to actually explore that, and all that could become strong right now, actually. Especially next year and all that, when Jupiter moves into Taurus, that'll be stronger for sure.
Interesting. Right. Past life knowledge, or even knowledge from your father's lineage,
Yeah, definitely. True.
Interesting. And I would say also, if your father has been missing, Capricorn, maybe this is a time of reunion, you know? Maybe this
Yeah,
is a
definitely. If
time,
you
yeah,
Yeah, if that father things are not if you are not resolved things with your father, it's kind of important. Now, karma astrology at least says that if you have created karma, you are not resolved things with someone, you might have to come back in the lifetime to resolve things with the same person. So better to resolve it right now itself rather than having differences and so forth and all that actually.
right, right. Because who wants to come back here?
Yeah, well, especially with your family members, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, Aquarius. With Rahu shifting into the 2nd house and Ketu into the 8th house, Aquarius individuals may experience fluctuations in finances, shared resources, and transformations. It is important for them to be cautious with investments and prioritize personal values. Right. So 2nd house is values too. It's Venus. Um, and Rahu in the 2nd house, traditionally, can be somebody who vocalizes. And with Rahu and Pisces, it's going to soften that. It's not going to be an angry vocalization like Rahu usually does. It's going to be speaking spiritual truths. And that's what Aquarians love to do, right? So Aquarians, I feel like, are going to be really in their game, you know. during this cycle. And Ketu in the 8th house, Aquarians love to help with humanitarian issues. They love to give away and charity work and all of that. So I think Aquarians are gonna like this cycle a lot.
Yeah, so Rahu in the second house can improve finances for sure. Second house and so forth. Usually, second house is also the house of face, so a good chance you might want to show your face for some occasions and so forth if you have been hiding away and all that. So that kind of thing can also happen. Usually, second house is the house of family as well. So definitely understanding more about your family and all that could also play out very strongly right now, or even the need to have a family kind of thing would become very strong right now. Investments is a very interesting thing also. So definitely Saturn is right now on the Aquarius. So these natives are going through a hard time. They have to put in the work right now and so forth right now. However, throughout this entire Rahu transit, Saturn will be on the Lagna. So they'll have to continue to focus on building up resources, focus on building up new ways of bringing money and all that for Aquarius natives. Something just to be mindful. Now, just like Leo natives, they have to be cautious of taking risky investment things and all that, because Rahu and Ketu is in the second house and 8th house for sure. So that is a financial house axis. So be very cautious of that. Don't get scammed by insurance people. Don't get scammed by like people who are willing to put in big money kind of thing and all that also. Yeah.
Right. Yes, and cryptocurrency. Be careful, Aquarius.
Right. Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see
Yes.
on that. Yeah.
Lord have mercy. Okay, Pisces. Rahu's transit into the 1st house and Ketu into the 7th house may bring changes in identity, relationships, and partnerships for Pisces individuals. They may work on self-improvement and need to prioritize their own needs while maintaining harmonious relationships. And just like Virgo, well, I think Virgo really is going to feel it more, but about wanting to be alone, right? Rahu in the 1st house, in a birth chart, oftentimes this will show someone who has the potential, right? You got to have 3 or 4 things line up, but this is one of the things to show fame, right? Because it's all about them, right? They're expressing themselves, Rahu the mouth, right? In the 1st house. So, Pisces might need to express themselves right now, and their partners are going to have to understand that they need to do this, that the relationship is going to kind of take a back burner while they do their dharma, because Rahu is your destiny. It's what you're supposed to do. And when it hits your 1st house, it's time to boogie, you better get moving. And so if your partner's going to try and hold you back and whine and get all clingy and stuff, they need to get, take a back seat and let Pisces do what they need to do right now. Otherwise, yeah, there are going to be shifts, It's a give and take. You can't be all about you all the time, Pisces love to give, they love to be martyrs. But right now it's time for Pisces to shine.
Yeah, so it's important to approach big transformation energies, which will be coming Pisces way with intelligence, actually. So, not to make impulsive moves, not to make moves out of confusion, but to make it from a place of clarity. That's something which Rahu can try to push you off, actually, and can put increased confusion, especially when you're young and all that. You'll feel that increased sense of confusion and so forth. But as you get older, you begin to reduce the levels of confusion you had, just like how a 13-year-old would not make the same mistake with a 6-year-old maid, or a 21-year-old would not make the same mistake with a 13-year-old maid, or a 36-year-old person is not going to make the same mistake with the 25-year-old maid, and so forth. So there is a evolution in intelligence that is coming up. So that kind of transit becomes very important right now. So there are big decisions and all that. Pisces will definitely confront with bigger decisions, bigger energies, and so forth. So that kind of thing can come. So very important to be mindful during this time period. Most of this, what we talked, the majority of this presentation would be applicable to Pisces natives in general. Pisces in general and Aries natives in general. It will be very applicable because of the signs, the focus on the signs and all that, which we put. So as Katya highlighted, if you have been donating too much more than what you could, if you have been self-sacrificing your own needs and all that, this will become very, very strong right now. importance of focusing on what you need and all that will become very right now. But do it with the intelligence is what I would say, not to be blunt about it or not to be confused about it is also equally important actually.
Right. And, Pisces has a tendency to be passive aggressive, and Rahu has a tendency to be a little deceptive.
Yeah.
And so Pisces in particular need to be careful that they're being straightforward and they're not Pisces don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. And so they will lie to not hurt people's feelings. And so Pisces has to be real careful during this time to not do that.
Well, of course, just being balanced about it. So, I mean, you can say truth, but you can say truth in an intelligent manner to hurt everyone around, break
And in an
relationships, break bridges, and all
empathetic
that.
way. Pisces
Exactly.
is very empathetic. And so if
Yeah.
they focus on, being loving and understanding, then that's probably their best way forward.
Yeah, without doubt. So usually the challenge here is that any kind of relationship, it will come with its own ups and downs for sure. However, important thing being here is that making peace with them. Like I said before, if you have not resolved your issues, you'll be reborn again to resolve those issues with the same person and so forth. So being clear about that thing energetically is very, very important. Not to create chaotic kind of energy and so forth is also important. Rahu can mean chaos. You are inviting chaos into your life. That's a real problem compared to approaching things with a clear sense of perception, clear sense of intelligence, and all that. Something like that.
Right. And who wants to come back here to Earth School?
But believe me, many people do because their actions are like that, right? Something like that.
Exactly. Exactly. But do they know that? Do they consciously know that? That's what I'm not so certain of, because this is why I think Rahu and Pisces is going to really wake people up.
Yeah.
It's going to wake them up to the spiritual implications and ramifications of their behavior,
Yeah.
which is pretty deep. Okay, so if you guys want a reading to see how this is going to pan out from us, here's our information. And as always, I'm going to stop the screen share. Okay, here we are. Yeah, so big change coming up, and like I said, I feel it already. I see it all around me already. And just observe. Try not to get wrapped up in stuff. Try to take care of your body, and just realize that, no one person can change the world, but you can change your world, right? You can change your circle of influence. And that's the most important thing, because especially during these challenging times, it's very painful to watch other people suffer, right? And they say people that, especially like in issues of in a family, when one child is hurt and the other children have to watch it, they get just as traumatized, So as the whole world is watching stuff that we can't control in Gaza, it's, causing a lot of stress. But if we just realize that, we can't control other people. All you control is yourself, right? And so this is going to be a big spiritual transformation time. And especially, next April, the first eclipse is April 8th. And so as those dates come up for each of the eclipses, we'll do a different video on that and tell you guys about it. But is there any last words you want to say?
Well, definitely Rahu in Pisces and Ketu in Virgo is excellent time period to work on your habits, work on your routines, work on things that are very important to you from big picture perspective. Those are very, very important themes to work on. We all have our motivations in our lives and so forth. Jupiter is the motivation planet, actually, or Mercury is the habits that can bring those motivations into reality. So it's a very important time period in that regard. And of course, the world will go through big change in thinking and all that during this time period. We do have our own individual karmas to play out, so that will also become highlighted in this particular fashion very soon. Of course, the world is going through crises, and but at the same time, there might be opportunities to bring in new kind of energies, new kind of artistic expressions, new kind of technologies, and all that is going to show up also. So we are going to live in exciting times. Definitely a time for change for sure. In the next upcoming few years will be a big time period of change, especially with the war brewing and all that. So it changes the perspective in many other fronts and makes us make sure that we are not allowing our own internal wars to come to the surface, and make sure you are approaching that with peace also. Extremely important point right now, actually.
Right. All right. Well, thank you, Santhip Ji. I so appreciate it.
Yeah. Thank you, Katya. Namaste. And thank you for inviting me.
Namaste. Okay, until next time.